Yeah, crushing your communist cornhole with the fat cock of freedom. It's post-politics Wednesday night. What is up out there in Radio Land, everybody? Firing on all cylinders. J-Rev Radio, Raz Radio Live, Salty Talk Radio, Radio Chaos, IPM Nation, and our most excellent YouTube channel.
Yeah, bro.
So, yeah. Boy, I fucking lost my train of thought the past like half hour or so, though. I got roped into something I haven't.
Screaming children.
Oh, not only that was going on in the background, but I also got roped into something that I totally forgot and hadn't watched in years and years, and just totally forgot about the Tourette's camp documentary. Do you remember that? Did you ever see that?
Yeah.
It's terrible. Like, the kid can't go into an airport without screaming bomb and shit, and just racial epithets like running wild.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful when it's a kid. Like, just because I know it's terrible for the kid. Like, it's probably way more embarrassing for the kid than it is for anybody else. But
it's terrible. But yeah, dude. Like, I know
as fuck, and it's better when it's a kid because people don't get as angry at a kid.
I know people that have like mild form of Tourette's like throughout my life that just have like tics, but they don't like scream expletives. You know,
I've never even met anybody that has a tic that way. So it's like, dude, I really fucking I wish.
It's very far removed from you.
Yeah, but I that's why, like, you know, the Tourette's thing, I was always like, bullshit, because I never even saw anybody that was kind of that way. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a British documentary, so they follow these kids to the camp to really like highlight the stuff for British television, like the kids that they meet before they go to the Tourette's camp, because the camp's in America, the thing is in the UK.
Yeah.
And
by the thing, do you mean the kid with Tourette's?
Yeah, the kids with Tourette's are in, you know, the thing, meaning the documentary crew, like all of that is
okay.
It's a UK production, right?
All right.
They follow these kids that they meet beforehand in the UK
for the Queen, by the Queen,
to America for the documentary, but they also meet American kids once they actually get to the camp, even though that's not necessarily who they're following for the documentary. Yeah. But it's I was joking with my wife's friend is staying over tonight. They're getting up and going to Universal in the morning. But I was outside just before the show talking to her about, like, I was like, I want Tourette's, but I want the Tourette's that they have where I can't control but yell out UK slang during my tics, you know. I just, you know, want to be talking like how I'm talking right now and be like, fucking wanker, you know, just,
yeah.
But suck a donkey's balls, you know, just.
Yeah, I just want to be able to say whatever the fuck I want without, like.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
of course,
without getting judged for it too badly. You know what I mean?
Of course, that's a joke, and it's, you know, whatever. But I don't know. That struck me as funny. Major news since we've done a show last. I mean, it's only been what, 2.5, like 3 full days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, fully since we did a show. But the news have been off the hook, yo. YouTube. This came out today out of Bloomberg. YouTube bans firearms demo videos entering the gun control debate. Now, after this, I went and looked this up, and this is out of Bloomberg. It's not out of, like, East Street City News or whatever. Like, this is we'll get into the article, of course, but I was able to go look up some demo videos after the fact, but I was like, I wonder if this is going to be a slow rollout or if they're going to start, like, systematically eliminating the stuff, etc., whatever. But we'll go into that. Biggest news of the day, really. Federal Reserve hiked up past the point percentage-wise than it has in the past decade, which was during the housing crisis and all that stuff. So the one article I plucked out for us is what a Federal Reserve rate hike means for U.S. households. So they kind of go into what, it's a dummies, Federal Reserve for Dummies type explaining some stuff, but it also goes into like, how is that going to directly affect us, which of course is the
ultimate question there.
Yeah, the kind of thing that we all care about. It's like, well,
how am I getting screwed on this exactly? Yeah.
Now, okay, so remember last episode we reported and played the video of Kyle Kashev's appearance on Good Morning America. Or, excuse me, Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan, and kind of broke that down. Now, the latest article here in the past day or two, CNN reportedly cancels Kyle Kashev's appearance because he simply mentioned a tweet criticizing a CNN anchor.
Can't be doing that shit.
Yeah, so another big thing. Now, this kind of crosses the philosophical, politically correct joke, ha ha ha, let's have a laugh type deal. But this came out, the original article was like 2 years ago, and this guy just went to court and did his whole thing. But the story is about 2 years old. So this is more like a follow-up thing, but I don't think we covered it when it first came out. Count Dankula, this YouTuber from Britain, and he's a guy that wanted to annoy his girlfriend by making her dog susceptible to commands that are anti-Semitic, Hitler-esque, very, very Nazi-esque, making him watch Hitler speech videos and shit like that, which is like, it's in poor taste, okay? Like, it's in very poor taste, of course, but that's a crime. This guy got sentenced as a crime for doing that and putting that on his YouTube channel. So, like, my caption for the Post Politics page was, being in poor taste is now a crime in the UK. We'll get to that.
Yeah. God.
And of course, we'll get into the bombers. We'll get into the Maryland school shooting. And that's pretty much the bulk of it for what I've got down. But it's leaving us no room to, expand any further than kind of what we need to and go off on. So we'll hit you guys back up. Yeah, stick with it, guys. Got a stellar lineup tonight. So stay tuned. By the way, right quick before we go, no show Sunday. I'll be traveling. My mom's birthday Sunday. We're going up there. My daughter's already with her, and we're going up there to spend the weekend. So I'll be traveling back home Sunday. And my mom shares a birthday with one Tom Glavine, Cy Young winner for the Atlanta Braves, Elton John, world-renowned singing and recording artist, piano player, and one Doug Stanhope. So,
nice.
So I'm playing Stanhope tonight for our Carlin's Corner. So we've got some of that shit lined up as well. But yeah, we'll hit the intro. We'll be back and get blasted off. Much love, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Share with your friends. Check out the YouTube page. All that good shit. We'll be back in about 2, everybody. More Post Politics coming up next.
And the sad part is that most people seem to have been indoctrinated to believe that bullshit only comes from certain places, certain sources. Advertising, politics, salesmen. Not true. Bullshit is everywhere.
The NWO Fighter, the show that gets America its balls back.
And you've got to put your bodies upon the gears and upon the wheels, by all the apparatus, and you've got to make it stop. And you've got to indicate to the people who run it, to the people who own it, that unless you're free, the machine will be prevented from working at all.
I don't want to put a violent connotation on it, but this is a war zone. I'm talking about my life and yours.
If you're not on some government list by now, you're doing something wrong.
After 8 years of lies and hypocrisy, people love this guy. Leads me to a very disturbing question. how far up your ass does this guy's dick have to be before you realize he's fucking you?
It's good for kids, too.
I mean, you're born absolutely free except for laws of nature. Those, if you drink, you get drunk. That's a law. If you get old, you die. That's a law, too. If you sit on a tack, you will bleed from the ass. These are the only laws that you're born with, and any government just fucks you out of that type of freedom.
If you're not involved by now, you are just as much at fault as our oppressors.
I was terrified when my doctor told me that I had a unique and interesting personality trait.
It's post-politics with Trip here.
All right, everybody. Woo! We're back. What's going on, peoples?
Yeah, yep. Fuck, man.
Snap. Me and we hadn't been too vocal about it, but me and Zach both have and my son's got it as well. My wife is like, is he getting sick? And I'm like, I looked in his throat, like he doesn't have any, bumps on his throat or nothing like that, like strep throat or nothing, but it's fucking this
hacky cough.
I just those seasonal allergies just fucking pop up, and you just got that scratchy throat and this sinus shit and the sneezing. Yeah, Zach's wiping his boogers out his fucking nose as we speak. But yeah, it's just that damn pollen. I didn't even know it until it rained. It rained like Monday for the first and forever, and I was like, holy shit, that yellow shit. I didn't notice it on my car.
Dude, that shit hits hard, man. God damn.
Yeah. That shit just spreads everywhere. So, whatever. To people that are dealing with that, as we are.
Yeah, I'll be sniffling and stepping back from the mic and all that every now and then. Trying to keep from doing that in everybody's ear.
I don't know. What do you want to, there's so much fucking news tonight.
It's like the shit that we didn't really, that kind of happened a little bit, earlier, but we didn't really cover it last time. I think we ended up on the dog there. Would be about that's about the latest thing, right? Or the oldest thing, not latest, I guess.
What?
The dog deal.
Am I losing you here? What the fuck?
No,
what?
Man, the deal we were just talking about, the guy getting punished for.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, my bad.
Come on, man. You just said it. But that's the oldest thing we have, right?
No, I was thinking, like, did a cop... I thought you said older, and I thought, like, something that we, like...
Oh, no. I meant out of the stories we were just talking about. What's the oldest thing? And I think that's the oldest thing.
Guilty verdict. Count Dankula braces for prison sentence over grossly offensive joke. No lie. On Tuesday, a court in Scotland found online comedian Marcus McCain, known as Count Dankula, guilty of, quote, being grossly offensive. That's a crime. Sentenciable by jail, not a fucking fine or whatever. This guy's going to jail, man.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, though, is like it should have been a problem. But I mean, and obviously we're talking about the UK here. It's not the US, but it's one of those things like that should have been an issue when they made that law. Somebody should have been like, what the fuck? Wait, hold on. For being grossly fucking annoying, basically.
Right. Like I said, and being in poor taste is now, being in poor taste is now a fucking crime.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. People have the right to, like, bitch about it, to not laugh at it, to laugh at it, or disassociate with this guy or whatever. But a fucking crime, this guy's getting 6 months.
Crazy, man. That's crazy as hell.
And I think they have the video here in the somewhere in here, but we'll look it up. So just to catch you up to speed with this. In poor taste, which he trained his girlfriend's pet pug to zig heil. The video viewed over 3 million times. The trial, which began last March, has been followed closely by free speech advocates and anti-censorship activists around the world. McCann was charged with committing a hate crime. Yeah, that was the technical thing, a hate crime, under a British Communications Act after he recorded the pug, Buddha, ironically enough, responding to statements like "gas the Jews" and "Zig Heil" by raising its paw. Some members of the public reported the video to police, who then arrested McCann. He made it repeatedly clear in his YouTube videos and in online conversations that he does not have Nazi sympathies and denies being racist. Speaking to Dangerous earlier this year, he said that the phrases he used in the video were simply the most horrible phrases he could think of.
Because it's just terrible. Even if you're doing it in jest, it's terrible to think of horrible things. Just period.
Right.
It's fucking ridiculous, man. I hate that. I mean, that's something that's natural to humans, man. I mean, when we were kids, dude, like you try and gross each other out by saying the worst shit, and you know, it's something that's been. Nobody had to teach you that, right? Like to say like horribly offensive stuff, but joking. People enjoy. Everybody enjoys it. Like it's not a.
Hey.
People just don't enjoy it when they're trying to make us stink about something. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just like
sounded like my grandmother there for a second.
To get charged for a hate crime, you know.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you, that?
I would say that being charged with a hate crime and things like that in the UK are quite different than they are in the US.
Right.
But it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't make it any better. But it's still
And this is
as much of a business there as it is here.
Sure. And this is not like a great video to play over radio, but we'll try.
Sieg Heil.
This is a sample of.
Sieg Heil.
And he raises his paw up.
Sieg Heil.
Raises his paw up.
Sieg Heil.
Gas the Jews.
Gas the Jews.
Do I gas the Jews? Bitte. Do I gas the Jews? Come on, gas the Jews, mate! Come on, gas the Jews!
Gas the Jews?
Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil! Sieg Heil!
And the dog's just,
Sieg Heil!
Throwing one paw up.
Who's a good wee Nazi?
So
who's a good wee Nazi? Man, it's hard to even sound like, for some reason, wee Nazi still sounded cute from a British person.
Well, the other thing is that, and that wasn't in that video because that was obviously like a redone video. It wasn't his. It was it was one that was kind of re-uploaded or whatever, edited. Okay. But in the original video, which I heard this morning somewhere, he goes, well, I thought, what was, and this guy's a YouTuber,
Yeah.
He's a YouTuber. Count Dankula for real, but
it's hilarious. Anyways, it's hard for me to. How do you have something that someone that calls themselves Count Dankula
taken
and you act like it? Well, from what Count Dankula said, like, come on, dude, that's just the fact that you can say his name without laughing is fucking. Just means you have no sense of humor. You know
Absolutely. Like, I would love to hear those court proceedings, by the way. You know how monotone and dredgeful that kind of shit is. Just like, could you imagine hearing that in fucking print, read off of manuscript? Goes by, and it's
by Count Dankula.
Right, it's UK court, of course, too. So it's like known as Count Dankula on YouTube. It's like really.
I would imagine they're trying to sound real fucking.
To hear a fucking prosecutor say that would be just like, oh, are you fucking shitting me?
That's how we're doing this now?
Right, this is what's getting taken seriously at this point, dude. For real? That's what we're doing? All right.
No, and that's what's crazy is like it's more scary that a bunch of people look at these things and like have to okay them than it is that just some people are this stupid. Like, because we all know some people are stupid, right? But I mean,
right.
When you know that, like, no, dude, a group of people heard this and we're like, yeah, so that's how we're gonna do that then.
There's a handful of people that find it funny. There's probably a good anybody that's not a completely humorless individual like you and I is going like, yeah, that's in bad taste, but I get it where that's
But
kind
it's funny as shit, and you know it. Like, I mean, that's really like the thing. Like, yes, it's in bad taste, but there's a tiny little dog throwing up a Zig Heil, dude. That's hilarious.
right. Yeah, and he's just doing it to annoy his girlfriend. You know what I mean?
It's not like a
He's teaching her dog to do shit that is like
that you wouldn't want a
your
fucking dog to
do.
do. Yeah. But
So-
I mean, here's the thing. Like, it shouldn't even be that worrisome anyway, because he only does it when you say things like Zig Heil. Like, how often do you say Zig Heil anyway?
Right.
Like, I mean, if she says Zig Heil in her house a lot, then that's her fucking problem to begin with.
It's like if you were like molest a child and the dog just started humping stuff, you know what I mean? If you
yeah,
talk
you're like,
that,
oh,
you know.
well, yeah.
So, but yeah, like I said, in poor taste, I just gave you another example of something in very poor taste.
Yeah.
But I get where the joke comes from. If it doesn't land, it doesn't land.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. And Patrice O'Neal, man, I wish we had that bit right now. But
I got it on tap, but
yeah, dude. I mean, because he says this exactly. Like, you're just trying to land a joke. If it doesn't work, then fine. But it shouldn't be a crime for attempting to do it.
But you should be able to attempt to do it, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so anyway, this guy's, you know, it said here, you know, of course we gave the argument for what he said. Like, I'm not this. It's just I'm a YouTuber. This struck me as funny, and yes, it's in poor taste, but you know, I don't figure this to be whatever. But on with the article here. But prosecutors disagreed and said that the video was an odious criminal act that was dressed up to look like a joke. The Crown contention is that is that what the Crown, they call that their fucking court system, the Crown over there or something?
Yeah, that's what it is, man.
All right, man.
Yeah, you're forgetting they take their fucking enslavement serious.
Their whole shit.
Yeah.
What
They
humor?
They don't half-ass it like we do around here, where we talk freedom but do this whole empirical thing. They take that shit for real.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The Brits are the biggest fucking tight asses. Like, if you stuck a lump of coal up their ass in 2 weeks, you would have a diamond type.
Yeah, in a week you'd have a diamond.
But
yeah,
you guys get the reference.
I'll understand.
Ferris Bueller line. Yeah. But according to independent journalist Laura Southern, who was present in court for some of the proceedings and was recently banned from entering the UK, Crown prosecutors argued that McCann, is colluding with his pug to use adorableness to trick people into gassing football stadiums full of people. That not that I read that fucking as a quote. That's unquote. Quote unquote is colluding with his pug to use adorableness to trick people into gassing football stadiums full of people. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So
where did he make
guilty.
that?
He was found guilty, but we have to wait till April 23rd to hear about what he's actually sentenced to. If they give this guy one fucking day of jail time, I'm going to be outraged. I'm already outraged no matter what, but he was found guilty. So it's like, at the very best, he's getting some sort of like probation, or you can't use social media for X amount of months or a year or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, dude.
Like that's the very least of what's going to happen, but we'll find out in a month.
That is absolutely insane.
That's the world we live in now, bud.
I just can't believe that. And like I said, it's crazier than anything, because there's people that just agreed to it. Like, that's their thing. They heard it all and they were like, yeah, no, I see exactly where he's coming from with that. And that's my thing is, wait, where did the football stadium thing came into it? Like, I feel like they just straight made some shit up, just freestyling. They weren't even like, they were like, man, just off the top, how's this guy feel about football? I don't know. I don't see anything about it. Well, then let's fucking say he's going to blow up the stand. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's strange. Like I don't know how.
So far removed from like our world too.
Yeah.
It is like it's not a it's not something that's kind of entered into like Americana, that sort of like, well, the Brits already had that kind of stigma that like we are upright and whatever.
Yeah.
So
they're proper and whatnot.
Yeah, that proper fucking connotation. And to the rest of the world is funny because they all look at us as fucking the rednecks of wherever you're at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Call us a bunch of Yanks, but honestly, to them, there's no different, like, Italian descent, New Jersey white trash from Texas folks to the Middle Eastern, or not Middle Eastern, but the central, what do they call that fucking area of the goddamn United States? Midwest people, the Midwest people.
Those folks, whatever the hell they call those folks.
All those don't you knows and all that shit.
Oh man, dude. Yeah.
Those fucking people, and everywhere has their own every sub genre of America has those stereotypical fucking people of that area.
Oh yeah.
Us down here, we all know it as being rednecks, and then they're guineas up north and whatever, and the people that are fucking might as well be Canadians from as far east as Missouri all the way up through Minnesota. And then
I really don't even. I mean, I met some of those people, but I've just never been to any of those places. Like it's just like not a. I mean, like I'd like to see certain areas, but I just, haven't went to it because I'm like, fuck it, I don't really care about those people.
I really haven't spent too much time, quote, like truly in the middle of the country. I really haven't. It's been predominantly out west and pretty much all along the eastern to like, central time zone eastern, but like that mountain time area, that western, central, and mountain time area, I've spent like zero time in,
Yeah, me too.
like Utah up to Idaho.
I've been up to those places to go skiing in Utah, and but I just went to. I don't feel like it counts because I was like, I just got on a plane and I got off at a place where you go skiing, and then I got back on a plane.
Vegas, you go to Vegas and Arizona, you might as well be talking like L.A. light. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. See, I've been to L.A. and all that. I was stationed there for a little bit, but yeah, none of the central U.S. at all. And I haven't been to New York, which is actually a place that I'd really like to go to.
Dude, man, I love New York. I love visiting there.
I've known a lot of people from upstate New York, but nobody from the city. But either way, upstate New York people, from everything I've heard from those folks, some of them are like way off topic.
Like honestly, unless you're gonna go for like over a week, you got to go a couple times to see everything you kind of want to see.
I believe it.
But
from upstate New York, people that I've talked to, they say there's more Confederate flags flying up there than there is in Texas.
Oh yeah, that's so
crazy,
fucking weird. Yeah, it's very
it's strange as hell.
Right, but all right. Yeah. Well, we're gonna hit our break. You can play through it on our YouTubes, but we'll hit that up. Do a song, some Carlin's Corner, but we'll hit this off with a little bit of what Patrice had to say when we did this. The thing we were referencing earlier about this whole free speech initiative. You should be able to try to make the joke.
You should be able. I mean, it's crazy that that he said it, and then so much further into the future.
It's so much more important. Yeah, it's so much more important today than it was when he said it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, what's crazy is that when he said it, I remember hearing it. I remember hearing it not the day he said it, but I remember hearing it and being like, dude, like how far ahead of his time was he on so much shit?
Right.
Which is the guy's. Yeah. I think history he'll be remembered a lot more than he has been.
Absolutely. So we'll play this on our way out, and then come back with some songs and some comedy, and then start the second half of the hour here. So stay tuned.
First black woman to ever become the Secretary of State of the United States.
Throw that at me.
Well, why not?
The attempt is what I'm trying to fight for. The joke funny jokes and unfunny jokes are come out of the same birth. That you don't know if anything is going to be funny. You should attempt to be able to make anything funny.
Don't you think a joke about rape is doomed to be not funny?
It's possible, but I've heard them.
You've heard a funny rape joke?
I say a couple. Watch my HBO special. I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, Patrice says that if you're having sex with a woman, doggy style, and if you hit her in the head just the right time.
No, it's ejaculate in her eye and kick her in the shin, and she walks around like, arg! It's the angry pirate. That's what she was trying to say.
A violent act of hitting her in the back of her head, her body.
It's called the donkey punch.
Which will then.
Why are you laughing? She's outraged. It's called the donkey punch. It's whole humor that she has no clue what it is.
We have the same problem that Opie and Anthony does. You can't say just anything on the air.
Oh, hold on. This is good.
Just say anything you want. It might not be funny. You might get in trouble for it, but you should be able to be attempting. And plus, when is a crazy bum going to get an opportunity to rape the president? If the president's wife, John?
We'll be right back.
Murder was on my head in Baton Rouge, and I brought up it was one of the many cop shoots unarmed dude, black dude. They should have numbered those like episodes, because you'd read one and you go, oh, that's still going. Oh no, this is a new one. This is number 3. You haven't seen number 3? Oh, I thought the Baton Rouge one was especially annoying to me, because in Baton Rouge, cop shoots an unarmed black guy, then a week or so later, black guy in response kills 3 cops randomly. Not all murder is senseless. That was senseless, and it was random. You're in Baton Rouge. It's not a big town. You could have killed the cop that killed the unarmed black guy. They said his name on the news, and you know where he works. How little legwork are you willing to put into your murders, where you go kill 3 random cops and fucking riots, and then this is blue lives versus black lives, where if you killed the actual cop responsible, the entire country would just go, well, that worked itself out.
All right, everybody. Back at it. Salty just dropped me a tag me in something that this Facebook data breach thing has been popping up. I honestly haven't looked into it too deeply, but our local guy down here that I've referenced before that helped us get at least medical marijuana passed in Florida was kind of supposed to run for governor but didn't. But he's got two major firms. Like I was surprised because I hear their name. It's Morgan and Morgan. It's John Morgan and his family. But they're up in Georgia almost just as much as they are down here in Florida, but they're based out of, the Orlando area. The law firm, they just filed a class action lawsuit against Facebook for over 50 million people. So, yeah, which should be interesting. So,
yeah, for sure.
That's something I kind of want to wait for some more stuff to come out. A good bit of stuff came out today, so it was like kind of a little late for me to gather too much shit for the show.
Yeah.
But I'm sure come next week we'll have a lot more to talk about when it comes to that. Next, do we want to get into these bombing? We might as well knock out the bombings and the shooting before the top of the hour here. But yeah, so the Austin, I woke up to that this morning. Like, it was breaking as I woke up that the Austin, because I was like, holy shit, yesterday, like there was a lot of action going on with this Austin bombing thing. And, more and more stuff was found, yada, yada, yada. They ended up cornering the guy, trying to pull him over, and he exploded himself. Once again, probably best case scenario for all that shit too.
Yeah.
Fuck a trial. Fuck all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that's actually willing to kill themselves,
go for it.
Yeah, I mean, they're willing to kill themselves for it. What are you gonna really talk them down about?
Right.
Where do you plan on that conversation going?
I guess the most bizarre thing about this is like the kid was not like quote troubled kid. He was not.
It's been with every single one of them. I know there's a few of them that we know were entrapment. There was one where the kid was, and this has got to be like 4 or 5 years old at least, where the kid was like 14 years old or some shit, and he had been talking to the CIA, acting like they were Al Qaeda for like something like a year or so.
Right.
And then they bust him walking with fake explosives into a building because they gave him the fake explosives and all that kind of shit. And it's like, they're like, see, he was able to be, fucking steered by what he thought to be Al Qaeda. And you're like, yeah, but they were being steered by the CIA, which is, yeah, we should know that 14-year-olds are susceptible to that kind of shit. So, I mean, the same thing without knowing a whole lot about this situation. A young kid, man, like if he's been talking to the CIA or the FBI or whoever's been doing this investigation for long enough, if they staged or set him up somehow, it's easy for a teenager to be convinced to do that kind of shit.
Brittany said the same thing, but I don't see any even evidence of hinting towards that at this point. I don't.
No, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, maybe it didn't happen, but I tend to, The government's the people that I've seen that have done more, setting people up and shit like that than anybody else I've seen. So I tend to believe that might be the case when I look at something like this,
Right. Yeah. So anyway, this kid blew himself up this morning, and then it shows him like showing up like to FedEx places with like a Hulk Hogan wig with gloves on, like. Those people really don't give a fuck, by the way. Like, let's be honest here. Like, you could show up with like an entire I make bombs, this is a bomb, don't shake this package, giddy up on. And those people that work at FedEx or the UPS stores or where
they do not give a fuck.
Just like, what is it? All right, here, what's the dimensions? Here's how much it costs. Yes, you have to add postage and packaging and yada, yada, yada.
Well, I don't know if it ticks. That's another charge. There's nothing I can do about that.
I do this for work often enough, I should say. I do this for work often enough to where it's like I don't, we have something that goes out after our UPS picks up for the day, but it's kind of got to be out, or we have something else. So those people at those stores, by the way, if you have a business number, which we have, we have like a business account number that we can just write on there, and they charge it to our account that I pay every week, at work. So like if you just show up with everything pre-packaged, they are happier than a pig in a shit.
They don't give a shit.
You just showed up that it's all done, because they're like, you mean I have to buy bubbles and what? You it costs that much for the dimensions of the package, yada yada yada, and they have to wrap it for them and
do all this shit. Yeah.
Like they run into those people all day long. This guy showed up, and I'm telling you from experience, no matter what's in that box, they're just happy you've got a ready to fucking go package, and just pay your fucking money and stick it back there and wait for the truck to pick it up. You know what I mean? Like that's really the way this.
It's true. No, I mean it absolutely is true. Yeah.
This kid showed up basically wearing a fucking bomber, giddy up, costume. And
I'm here to blow things up. Yeah.
Might as well have showed up with that shit, but I imagine, and like I said, this just broke first thing this morning, so I'm sure even more details will continue to come out about this kid. It's just odd. Like, this is not the moniker,
Why is it? Yeah.
But I guess he had been hanging out at at like an extended stay motel doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
For a
Which
long
is
period.
also not suspicious at all.
Well, I mean, the other thing about this is, like I said, this kid was like literally I did not see that. Everybody that knows this kid was just like, never been in fucking trouble. I don't, I don't like this.
I mean, it is also rare though that anybody's on TV and they were like, "Yep, knew that motherfucker was gonna kill somebody." Yeah.
Right. It was like, I always wondered about Jeffrey's little skull collection. It's
right. Yeah.
It's not
It's
one
never that weird. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. But there's, like I said, there's a handful of things that they go into about, the complexity of these bombs, and God, I'm just looking at this surveillance video, and it's so funny how he looks, But
of course they're gonna be weird as shit. It's just hilarious, dude. That I mean, they very rarely ever do they have somebody who didn't seem the part for this shit, and I don't know, man. I mean, because that's the thing. Why isn't there? I've seen plenty of kids that look like they were gonna join Al Qaeda tomorrow, right? Like, but
Sure.
it's never those kids that do any of that shit. It's the kids that like absolutely did not look that part, and I don't know. I mean, to me, I know I'm like kind of being the conspiracy one here
Right.
and all,
Yeah.
but
Like I said,
it's
like
it just tends to be the case,
this kid here, they traced some of the shrapnel shit that he bought from a local fucking Home Depot. And here's the big kicker, honestly. So, his name on the shipping addresses, wherever he shipped shit to, the name that he gave was Kelly Kilmore. Kelly Kilmore.
Give me a fucking break.
They're like, yeah, who's this? Kelly Kilmore. Yes,
Who's
yes.
this one? Kelly Kapowski. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Like,
Yeah, just ship it.
yeah, just ship it. This one's I'm not a real person. Yeah, just send it there.
Right.
Like fucking fake name for bombing.
Fucking,
send it to that one. Send it right over to that guy. I just don't.
Right, yeah.
I feel like, and it's like, no, it's always some shit like, this kid absolutely did not look the part, and they traced it back to your local Home Depot who fucking put it together, and you're like, get the fuck out of here, dude. I've seen the people at Home Depot, like, there's not I don't know. I feel like a lot of this shit is just too convenient. Too convenient.
That's great.
No.
That's the bit, dude. Is like, what's the most absurd name that cat could put on the fucking, fake name for
Fake
bomb
name for bombing.
is their running gimmick right now.
Yeah.
Fake name for bombing.
At this is not a real address. Fucking
Right.
yeah.
This is not a real at
nowhere United States.
At 123 Main Street.
Exactly. Fuck, dude.
Oh.
I mean, and it really is though. Like I feel like that's pretty much a regular thing though, that we have this like weird group of, I mean, I don't think that the way that they're setting it up is that it's just any kid that looks just like any regular old kid could be walking around fucking, ready
Who
to
gives
set bombs all over the place.
the fuck if his name is I am Kaboom? You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like that's not a weird thing. Like, we can't judge him for like, nah, dude, fuck that. Yeah.
From
man.
666 Detonation Street,
Yeah,
like
dude, no, it's ridiculous, dude. And we treat it like, oh man, thank God,
Right.
fucking Home Depot and fucking whatever put this shit together. Meanwhile,
I
the
guess
kid that shot up the Florida school was reported to the FBI how many times?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
come on,
Do
man.
what you will. Yeah.
Yeah.
I go Kaboom is fucking much better off, like
Yeah. God, dude. Yeah. I think they're I don't know. It just seems really convenient.
I guess what nobody, and once again, that's what we kind of pride ourselves here on, is like that's what we've touched into tonight that you'll not hear anywhere else, is how shitty are people's jobs out there where they're just like, yeah, okay.
Like, I don't really care.
Right. It's none of my fucking business. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
Like,
not worried about it. Screw it.
this is probably after shit started going off, like over the past few days or it's been like a week or so since the bombs started happening. But how many people's jobs suck that they could really give a fuck less as long as you've got your money in hand and your dimensions right and shit taken care of. As long as they don't have to do anything extra, they're gonna be okay.
God, dude. And I mean, that's what sucks is like, think about it, dude. They're acting like you being aware at your job at Home Depot is now a possibility of saving the fucking world. Like,
right.
Come on, dude. You know that the guy at Home Depot is not that concerned with his fucking employment at Home Depot. Like, he's just not. And there's not.
And bought a 10-pound box of screws, nuts, and bolts,
Yeah. And a fucking pipe.
Press cooker.
Yeah. A fucking pipe and everything, It's just stupid. It's one of those things where I'm not going to be like, no, I don't buy it. Like, there's no fucking way. There's no way that these kids are just sitting out here and just thinking about blowing the fucking place up all the time. And,
like I said, I did to turn that back around towards center is like this kid, I guess, didn't really show. And everything that I've seen as far as updates was like, well, in 2012. And I'm like, well, you can't find the kid's 24 years old. So I guarantee if you count some shit against me that I said or did when I was 18, and this was before social media, like before real social media took flight, you could probably dredge up some fucking terrible shit to say about me no matter what I did to die on the way.
Absolutely.
So, I like I said, I can't, no one can find anything of relevance that is, close in time frame to where we are now about this kid. So, I don't know, man. It's just it's kind of bizarre too,
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I think it's bizarre that we have such a like screwed up. I don't know that the way that our shit is going down now is regularly solved by. I don't know. It seems like it's all after the fact, and the only times that it's not after the fact that it's solved is when it's something that is just like. Here's the deal, right? With this kid. It seemed like it was something that was completely, you couldn't have known. There's no way you would have known that this was going to happen, right? So if that's the case, how did we bust this kid before he did some shit? But the shooting where we've notified we've notified the FBI twice, and there's actual cops outside of the school while it's going down, and it doesn't get stopped. You know what I mean? And so it seems to me that it's just, and I won't even say it's a conspiracy or anything like that. I'll just say that it's fucking crazy how things work. That you bust the random guy, and this shit happens right after, and it seems to every time,
right.
And
and once again, to kind of catapult off of that, you're talking to people that are skeptical at the very least of law enforcement.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, if you signed up for the job, and if you were a private security person, I would hold you to the same standard.
Yeah.
But this shooting that happened in Maryland at the school, fucking yeah, the girl's in critical condition and he got that off. But hey, as far as how bad the scenario started out, this is probably the best case scenario for what stopped anything. Is what happened at this Maryland school. And the kid's dead.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, play with fire, you will get burned, my little
That's
friend.
how it goes down.
So, the alleged shooter died after a confrontation with a school resource officer. Details about the shooting are still developing, and the investigation is ongoing. Here's what we know. The shooter was identified as Austin Rollins, a student at Great Mills. The 14-year-old boy was identified as Desmond Barnes. He was shot in the thigh and was discharged from the hospital Wednesday, officials confirmed. The 16-year-old victim of Tuesday's shooting at Great Mills High School, identified by family as Jalen Wiley, remained in critical condition Wednesday morning, according to a hospital spokeswoman. As school systems across the county debate arming staff, state and local officials praise the actions of the school resource officer who fired at the gunman. As Gaskell fired at Rollins, Rollins almost simultaneously fired his gun. Investigators are still working to determine which bullets struck which individuals. That will be interesting to find out, because you guarantee that if there's any sort of fucked upness on part of law enforcement, that will come out,
Yeah.
But the other thing, like I said, you're talking to somebody who's very anti-cop, but like I said, I would hold the same against somebody that is a private armed security person at that school, just because it happens to be a cop. And don't get me wrong, that cop did the right fucking thing as a person, as what he was paid to do and what he was there for. Fucking did the right thing and got it taken care of. Not like these pussies we've got down here in South Florida or whatever. But as school systems across the country debate arming staff. Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I just read that. The sheriff's office said that the shooting was not a random act. There's evidence that Rollins and Wiley had a prior relationship which recently ended, according to the sheriff's office. You know what, man? I've hated fucking a lot of chicks with every fiber of my being and still do. There's a handful of chicks in my life that I just fucking really just hold no remorse for all the bad things that happened to them in their lives. But never thought about killing, I can't say that, but I never gave a real notice to I'm going to get a gun or I'm going to lure them to the woods and strangle them. I've never had an active thing other than fantasies about how much I fucking despise and hate them as people and how dirty, rotten people they are. Usually. That does it enough for me, is just to fantasize about all the terrible things in life and hoping karma comes full circle to them, So any pain and suffering that they endure, I relish in, which might not be very good, might not be very healthy, But hey, how else are you going to get your kicks for people that have done you wrong? Everybody always waits for the people that have done them wrong to get what's coming to them. And when it does, you're like, justice is served. And guess what? I didn't have to hurt nobody or go to jail because of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of my role, but I understand trying to deal with that and how, I mean, you know how those high school relationships go, man. If you last any time past a couple months,
a couple months is a long relationship.
You think you're gonna fucking, that's gonna be
this is it forever.
And love, for whatever. And I guess that's just how high schoolers look at it. But we know better. Yeah. We're twice their age, so
yeah, we only know better because we did that stupid shit exactly the way they're doing it. Oh man, it's terrible.
I wish I would have taken the advice of some people. It was like, look, man. You think it's terrible now, but it's not.
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's actually great right now.
Everything's gonna be cool, man. You just gotta find your own, your own thing.
You'll be all right. Yeah, I didn't listen.
Boy, if I could go back and shake the shit out of myself fucking
dude.
Years ago, I'd have a much better time.
Yeah, I needed a stiff ass whipping today.
I had a good time, but I could have had a much better time.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. A lot better time. Really, it's funny, like the things that I was scared of then that I'm not scared of now, but not because I shouldn't be, but it's just like one of those things of like, fuck it, dude, I don't really care anymore. You know what I mean? Like how much of your life is just like, no, dude, I don't give a shit now.
Yeah, I caught on to that a little bit earlier than most people, especially like around the type of mentality and the, whatever, the outcast shit and all that stuff. Like a lot of people were just like overtly depressed, like really dwelling in the fact that they didn't belong anywhere. And I like almost started to once I was like 16, 17, started to really take like a sense of pride in that. So
yeah, which is damn nice.
So I was just like, fuck you guys, I'm cool. I'm all right.
I could do this shit.
Right. I don't need anybody's like blessing, but this is who I am. And if you don't like it, and then once I got that shit up underneath my wings and stopped being a fucking sad, depressed individual, things started to get better for me. Not necessarily all around, but I learned how to handle my shit a lot better. You know what I mean? Where I was just like, not everything was the world is falling apart. Like I remember the time, I've told that on the air before. I remember a time when a flat tire would basically send me into a spiral of like nothing in my life is good, and it's all over because I've got a flat tire,
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
And I've come such a far long way from that it's like,
dude, that has happened with me on every level, man. I mean, just things that used to be huge being like, you'll fucking make it. You do every time. You know what I mean? That's just kind of the way it works.
This sucks. Fuck it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this sucks. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, like how much of my, it'll keep fucking you until it doesn't. You know what I mean? Like that's about the way it goes. But I don't know. It usually helps. I think
for me, it got to a point where it was like literally like my own sanity over, dealing with the fucking problem at hand. So it was like, I was like, dude, I am really not okay with how this is going.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to figure out a fucking way to make this okay or more manageable, I guess would be the better way to put that.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to make this more manageable. Otherwise, you're going to fucking pop, and some people fucking pop as we see.
Hell yeah.
So,
yeah, as we see pretty regularly, some people fucking pop.
Yeah. And like I said, these past two things, like it seems like it's not like, well, we found the 17-year-old high school student who recently broke up with his girlfriend, had Al-Qaeda ties,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's not, some people just fucking snap, man.
Yeah.
I think the world that we live in now, like we were the first generation of like a lot more people were on the verge of snapping, but now we're seeing it in droves, dude. These kids that are, 15 to 20 years younger than us are like ready to pop at any given point.
No, and as they should be, dude. I mean, you look at the world, and it's like, nah, dude. I mean, think of all the information these little tiny fucking heads got to take in, dude.
We can tell our kids that it's fucking bourgeois and, it's not that deal. You think
hey,
it's
this is just stupid. Don't worry about it. It's just bullshit.
You think it's a big deal? Trust me when I tell you that it's not. I'm your parent. I love you. I'm not going to steer you wrong. It's not that big a deal. It feels like it, and I'm here to help you. I guess that's the best thing you can do as a parent. And I think that we're probably first generation of parents to be able to sort of do that effectively,
absolutely.
to probably be like, look, I know it seems like this, but trust me, all this stuff passes. It's not a big deal. You'll look back on this and laugh at some point, And I know it sucks right now, and I'm here for you. And it's probably the best thing you could do as parents of our age.
Absolutely.
And we're younger people to have as old of kids as we do too. We're also like in that same arena of I have kids that are just as old as like the 40 somethings I hang out with too from time to time. You know what I mean? So I hang out with people in their 40s and our kids are the same age. So, just us having kids early, has a huge deal to be with it. There's still like Generation X parents that are, have kids the same age as us because they waited till they were 32, 35 to start having kids or whatever. But, I don't know. Tis what it is. All right. We're going to cut off the YouTube audios for the next couple minutes. We'll be back in about 7.
Deal.
So we got Bad Religion and Beck.
All right. Nice.
Tis what it is. We'll be back. Stay tuned. All right, everybody. Back at it. Post politics. Official second hour kickoff. Yippee-yo.
Nice.
I got to pull up what we had. Okay, so the Federal Reserve also voted today to up prices. So this is actually some pertinent information here. Not just editorializing. But, and I guess it wasn't too much of a hike. It's like 0.25% from where they were at. But it is the biggest hike in interest rates that the Fed's put in since the Great Recession, as we called it. So the article here out of Reuters, what the Federal Reserve rate hike means for U.S. households. The effects of the Federal Reserve interest rate hike announced on Wednesday today will extend beyond corporate America into household budgets. So if this is anybody, and I think we've come a long way in the past 6-7 years, just as mainstream America, about knowing what the Federal Reserve, most Americans at this point, know that the Federal Reserve is not, hey, we're not backed by gold. What is this Federal Reserve? They're an entity of private banks. We're kind of we're slaves in debt, as opposed to they will make sure that we stay crippled. This is a very, very keyed in view of what we have been saying all along, that I think most people, now that it's come to what it's come to, that we are starting economically to sort of prosper again, that these are, quote, the sanctions kind of that the Federal Reserve puts on us should we do too good. Yeah. That's what they're there for. We can't have people doing good. How will they be in debt to us if they're, can pay their bills on time? If they keep their fucking mortgages and actually pay them off, how will they be enslaved to us?
And if you don't believe that that's the case, just go consider the fact that they put taxes on everything else intentionally to make people not do them.
Right. So, moving along here, most people will see at least a minor impact on their credit card statements in the next few billing cycles with those with adjustable rate mortgages. Now, here is one thing that when I hardly knew shit, I knew about this a lot. And it for somebody relatively new to this stuff, I was very intuitive of what I saw with the housing, the real estate market crash, back in 2008. And I was still renting. I was in an apartment. I never owned a house up until, 3 years ago. So, I saw this and I was going, if you have a piece of property or whatever, fucking your first initiative is to always pay, make sure that you don't get I don't have an adjustable rate. No matter what, I am locked into my whatever it is, 4% interest rate or whatever, for my house. No matter what happens, they can't change that contract because that's what I signed the fucking contract at. They can't adjust that because the market or the economy is doing this, that, or the other. I made sure that when I signed my fucking loan for my house, that was the case. No matter what happens, they can't fuck me over on this.
Yeah.
So now taxes and things like that, they can increase based on what the economy is doing and what the local market is doing. But, other than that, other than taxes and insurance, they can't fuck with me as far as, going oh, well, we can just spike your shit up to $4,000 a month. All of a sudden, your entire paycheck has to go to us if you want to keep your home, and which is essentially what happened in the, no job, no credit. Buy a
No
house.
problem. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We'll give you a house. Well, meanwhile, people are losing their fucking jobs and signing on for mortgages that they can't fucking afford at the same time. And they were allowing that to happen purposely. And the listeners of this show, I don't need to give you guys a whole rundown about that. But, I think that's very important to note when we enter into things like that. Like anybody with actual like auto loans, home equity, fucking, etc. That's something, if you're just now moving into that market, you're starting to get fucked. And I knew that this was coming a couple years ago, regardless. So it was important to me to get a hold of, doing like our homestead shit. Like I get discounted rates just because I said this is my only home, yada yada yada. That's not shit that a lot of people know about. You can get shit off your mortgage just by doing a homesteading tax exempt fucking McGillicuddy on the deal, and so I did that as well, which saves me probably close to $500 to $750 a year off of what I pay, which I mean it's a year-long thing, but hey man, that shit adds up. It's another bill here or there.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But going on here, credit cards with fixed interest rates and annual percentage ratings that don't change for a set of period of time won't be immediately affected, which I also have. The only credit card that I use, I'm locked in as long as I pay my bill on time. They don't fuck with me, so I continue to do that as well. And I've got a credit card that's under 10% interest APR. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just letting you guys into my world a little bit, but this is some grown man shit that you got to think about sometimes. Yeah, you're just a debt slave, man. Well, okay, I still have Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, they're still gonna hold you to that. It doesn't like
Bitcoin and silver and guns. Okay, so relax a little bit.
And also, I mean, it's one of those things too of like, shut your mouth. You're all in the same fucking boat I am. So,
Right. Don't tell me about how the old school thing was like, don't tell me how you drive an Escalade, but fucking, you owe the bank fucking however much until long after that motherfucker breaks down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. How cool is that Escalade going to look on fucking blocks in your front yard because you can't drive the motherfucker no more, you know? And
which
you still
also happens.
And you still owe on it. You know what I'm saying? You know what? Yeah. I got a 2011 Jeep fucking paid for. It's paid for. All right? I'm good. I'm good. Okay, so fixed rate mortgages are also going to become more expensive. So I might actually see a little bit of a hike on that. Or no. I'm wrong there. Fixed rate mortgages may become more expensive, which could have a chilling effect on the real estate market. Now, what that means is, of course, anybody buying a home after this has been in effect, after today, anybody that closes after today is going to see the hike in if you go to buy a new home. I'm locked in.
Yeah, you got that grandfather shit.
Right. So, but anytime the Federal Reserve fucks around like this, you're gonna see, people are not buying homes. People are, whatever the case is. I'm not sure how that works amongst my actual the actual value of my home, though. I'll have to look into that. I know I'm being very personal here, just because I think it's relevant. Yeah. But I'll have to look into that, just because I find that pertinent to if I'm going to end up making more money just because I got in ahead of this increase, or if it's just a bank thing. You know what I mean? Like like the bank, like when you go to Zillow or any place like that and go like, oh, what's my home worth? Well, due to this new increase, it might be worth more just based on the fucking interest rate that they're going to charge people. So I can do that and walk away with, you know, if it means more to me, then I can end up walking away with more than that. And the bank doesn't give a fuck because I can take my fucking money and go elsewhere with it. They're going to get their nut no matter what, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that might be something to look into for anybody that owns their home out there, too, by the way. So, moving along. The Fed lifted its benchmark overnight lending rate by 0.25 percentage point to a range of 1.50% to 1.75% at the end of the two-day policy meeting on Wednesday today. The U.S. Central Bank also forecast at least 2 more hikes for 2018, signaling growing confidence in the strengthening economy, which could lead to more aggressive future tightening. So, like I said, like we started this off, if the economy is doing well, they'll fucking make sure that you stay crippled to a certain extent. Yeah. And if it's doing well enough, that's more slaves for them to take on. You know, that's more of any sort of paycheck that can go into that. Like, hey, you're doing better now. Let me take a little bit of that. You know,
let me get some of that.
Which we all know. If you and we were young adults when the fucking housing crisis and all that shit went down. Like I was making buku bucks, you know. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, we're cutting down to part-time, and then we're fucking laying people off. I was a part of that, man. I worked a warehouse job during those times, and it was fucked up, you know. Yeah. I was finally making something for myself, and they fucking pulled that fucking rug real quick, dude.
Yeah, I was in the military at the time, so that didn't really have an effect on me at all.
Oh, good for you.
I won on one thing. Totally. And you know, it was great for me that year.
So I'm a proud shitholer.
Exactly.
But so, you know, like I said, this moving into effect, it's all a part of, you know, making sure that the fucking just good enough stay just good enough. This might be a time of actual great economic growth for, quote, the country or whatever, but they will make sure that you stay exactly where you're at. Don't make any good plans for the future if you don't have shit already intact, I guess is basically what I'm saying. If you want to fucking own some shit, hold off. Just stay where you're at. I'm not saying be happy where you're at because they're fucking you over, but it's like don't get your hopes up about moving forward in a huge fashion.
Because this moment.
But if you want it, you know, but that comes like owning stuff too. You know, I want to make other investments. I want to own some more shit. You know, hey, I'm a guy on the up and up right now. And I want to own some more shit. Well, you're going to make it harder for me to own more shit and just be happy with what I've got. You know, I can't move up any further. That's the point that I'm making here, is that you can't move up any further because they're making it damn near impossible for you.
If that's kind of the way it's been going, though, too.
Right, you know? Right. If you're just at the cusp of doing that, you can't move up any further because they're going to make it damn near impossible for you to make that next leap. Because why? Because the economy is doing so well. We've got to do something to fuck this up, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Which consumer rates will be most affected? At the average rate on a 5-year Treasury Index adjustable rate mortgage is currently about 3.67%, according to Freddie Mac, the most trusted of names. ARM rates are modified annually to a 0.25 percentage point increase in the rate in March. Wouldn't have an immediate effect, but when it does kick in, it could add up to $1,250 a year to interest payments on a $500,000 mortgage. My mortgage is just below $200,000. And I know they like to sling these huge numbers around. If you have a $500,000 mortgage, you're not going to be eating like, for me, that would make the difference between eating fucking bologna sandwiches and shit and what I fucking eat now. You know, that would mean the difference of trying to cut every fucking corner I possibly could and making my home as economical, viably as possible. $500,000 mortgage, $1,250 a year, interest payments extra on a $500,000 mortgage. If you have a $500,000 mortgage, you can afford the extra.
Probably afford that, yeah.
Year. It's gonna hurt. It hurts.
You should be a judge of what you can afford, which is what's fucked up about this. But yeah, where you're going with it, yeah. I mean, they're not going to be.
I'm gonna say it doesn't hurt all the same. You know, $1,250 a year is $1,250 a year. I mean, you know, what is that? $104 extra a month. Basically, it's $104 extra a month, and you know that still sucks, but. If you got a $500,000 mortgage, you're definitely not losing your house over that. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this to big up the fucking Federal Reserve. I'm just saying.
No, I mean, they're screwing people over. It's the way it is, but yeah. But as long as you're getting screwed over, here's how it's being done.
Right.
I mean, it's just kind of the way it works.
Here's the in and outs of it all. Yeah. And like I said, this is just now. We read that line earlier where they said, hey, there might be one or two more spikes in this interest rate from the Fed in the within this year. You know, that's troubling, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, it sucks because it's like, dude, I would like to own some more shit, but I'm definitely not in the market for that. Like, I'm into keeping what I got, you know, and I'm definitely not, trust me, before I even earned and bought a house, I was definitely this guy that was like, I would never refinance, you know, going back to what I was saying earlier, I would never refinance my house. Like, no, if you're in a fixed fucking mortgage rate, fucking never refinance. Never bet against your own fucking property. Because in the long haul, your property is your golden ticket, man. If you own property, that's the one thing that hardly ever goes down if you're in a decent enough area. If you've been in, like how we are out in the country, that's just now getting an economic and population boom. I don't like it, but it's also raising the property value, you know? So you don't need to fucking bet against your own home to make your payments cheaper. And especially if the economy is going good. I think, you know, the problem that we had during all of this is that people were like, this is more than we can handle. We got to get out of this. Yada, yada, yada. We have to bet against our home or you're going to lose your fucking home because your job's not there fucking next week either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of the rate that happened. And I learned a lot in my early adulthood just by witnessing this before I knew shit about shit. You know, we're talking 2007, 2008 here. You know, I saw that shit happen to myself firsthand, and I was still renting apartments. So, you know, like I said, you gotta. I trust everybody that listens to this show to have a fucking, you know, a good enough understanding and sign of the times. I'm not gonna, you know, whatever, beat you over the head like you're ignorant. But
still,
you got to pay attention to this shit.
Yeah.
Got to pay attention.
Yeah, they're going to get you.
Smell what I'm sizzling?
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to hit our final break here, and we'll come back and get into some more shenanigans. We can let this roll through. I got some independent artists.
Nice.
Hank 3 from some independent albums.
All right.
And then come back with another Stanhope bit. So stay tuned. More post politics. Final segment coming up next.
Saturday night, 'cause I've been cooped up and I'm feeling uptight, and I'm looking all around trying to find me a girl who wants to fuck. It's been taking a toll, working every damn day. Now the weekend's here, so it's time to play. And I'm looking all around trying to find me a girl who wants to drive my truck, sipping that whiskey. It'll make me say a couple things that I might regret the next day. Hell, have another drink. Be okay. You think I got a shot of rolling with you in the hay? Sipping that whiskey, it'll make me say a couple things that I might regret the next day. Hell, have another drink, it'll be okay. You think I got a shot of rolling with you in the hay? Don't you wanna? Don't you wanna go? Show me how to stand. Hey, don't you wanna? Don't you wanna go? Saturday night, 'cause I've been cooped up and I'm feeling uptight, and I'm looking all around trying to find me a girl who wants to fuck. It's been taking a toll, working every damn day. Now the weekend's here, so it's time to play. And I'm looking all around trying to find me a girl who wants to fuck. Sipping that whiskey, it'll make me say a couple things that I might regret the next day. Hell, have another drink. Rolling with you in the hay. Sipping that whiskey, it'll make me say a couple things that I might regret the next day. Hell, have another drink, it'll be okay. I think I got a shot of rolling with you in the hay. Don't you wanna? Hey, don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna? Hey, don't you wanna? Don't you wanna? Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna? Hey, don't you wanna?
Been on stage 6 months until tonight because I had other shit I had to do. I went and listened to tapes of myself on stage last time I was on stage 6 months ago and heard myself saying, I wish they just had the election today so we'd never have to hear that fucking dude's name again. That's how confident we all were. I swore I would never work another election season because it's so boring
Just the news. There's nothing fun. I don't care about politics. I don't care who the president is. If you do, you haven't lived your life right. If you care about who the president is, if you need a leader. I voted for Gary Johnson. Why? I voted for Gary Johnson because I had to go vote for my local mayor and city council. And since president's on there anyway, I voted for Gary Johnson because he follows me on Twitter. And that's the problem with democracy. If Donald Trump had liked one of your tweets with a picture of your cat, you might have gone, well, he doesn't seem so bad. Democracy is a flawed theory, and maybe a dictator is what you need, because a dictator doesn't need to be a bad guy. You take the term dictator and you assume he's a tyrant. No, he's a dictator. I dictate, we all have a great time. Every day is Casual Friday. I dictate that shit. What's wrong with that?
All right, everybody, we're back. Final segment, post-politics. Thanks for hanging out with us. Oh, Stanhope shit. Some good stuff, man.
Yep.
So, let's kick this off here because I haven't really read too much into this. But CNN. Now, the weird thing is, like, I don't know if this kid was booked beforehand, but we covered him on Sunday night. Him going toe-to-toe with Piers Morgan. And, yeah, he called out CNN in a tweet. But I wonder if he was booked before then or after that, you know, because I don't know. It's kind of bizarre the way this whole thing turned. I mean, CNN basically has been accused of doing this a lot as stories are catching heat. And I'm talking about like even as far as 10 years back, where they book a guest and then the heat is building ahead of their fucking segment.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't go along with their narrative or something kind of fucking screwy happens between the time that they are booked and the time that they are set to go live with them, they cancel the whole thing.
Yeah.
So we covered this kid that kind of gave Piers Morgan the business on Good Morning Britain on Sunday night. Now CNN booked him. So here we go. On Thursday, CNN canceled an appearance by Kyle Kashuv, the only well-known student from majority Stoneman Douglas High School who has not towed the gun control party line, reportedly because he mentioned in a tweet that noted the hypocrisy of one CNN's anchors. Kashuv noted this tweeting, and then here's the tweet. My friend just got a call from CNN. They're canceling my interview because I retweeted a tweet where Clay Travis called Brooke B. CNN a fake news hypocrite and was quoted in the title. But don't worry, CNN really wants to have the other side on as long as they're complicit. You know, nice. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I think it's all just, I mean, dude, it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I mean, but it's now at this point, like, it's like stuff you see in video games and shit where you've got like, no, really, they've got like, now it's just the corporations at war with each other. Like Fox right. Set up this kid completely just to burn CNN. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a...
And I hate to keep
just like swaying to another fake news group.
I hate to keep pointing this out, but it's very important to note that like, what do you think that this is not going to get picked up on? Here's where the mainstream media, conservative, liberal, etc., they all fail. Independent media, lower level people that we cover here continuously, and we cover big news articles by the big names, and we cover fucking lower level stuff. and just make it valid to whatever it is, whatever topic we're talking about. And where the mainstream media has continued to get it wrong, where it's like they have continued over the past 10 years at least, since people have kind of started to wake up to this, that they are doing themselves so much more harm because people can put this shit out on the internet. And while it might not catch absolute fire, people are still aware that this is what happened. Quote, the truth is out there.
Yeah. People know what the fuck went down. Yeah.
Right. So by doing this, it's like, what, do you think people aren't going to find out that this is what happened? You know, it's like, how many people have CNN put on or anybody else?
I think really they're just counting on that nobody will pay attention to it, which is actually kind of true though. I mean, for the most part, not enough people that are going to make it any different, right? I mean, because ultimately it's all just, I don't know. I mean, our society has these weird loyalties to people, and they realize that.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like what you're really doing is silencing the opposition. Like, you're too afraid. Like, really? Are you telling me that the fucking anchors at CNN that do this daily? This is their job. They do this daily, and you can't destroy an argument. Whether it's wrong or indifferent, you can't destroy the argument of a 16-year-old.
No, and they can't because of the fact that you have to remember, these aren't people with actual points of view. These are not people with like valid reasoning skills and things like that. They're people that have no issue getting on TV and lying to millions of people because somebody that pays them money told them it's okay.
Well, what I'm saying is like they think that that's like in this day and age that's still a valuable point at this juncture. Like
it doesn't need to be a valuing point. It needs to be
that still holds water. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
and I think
you think people are not gonna fucking find out, that they're not gonna understand, that they're not going to find out what the hell you're trying to do here.
Well,
like, you're not giving yourself any brownie points by doing this. If you had the least bit of credibility, you would get on air and try to make an entire fool of this kid. But the points that he's making are too good to fucking try to, combat intellectually,
Yeah, I just think that there's no reason. Well, because I think the thing is it has gotten now at this point, you don't have to. They have no reason to. Why go at it and possibly lose when you can do the winning thing, which is is going to win. Yeah, it's going to win. So instead, just ruin the kid's name. Make him look stupid by fucking doing exactly what you do to everybody else. There you go. I mean, it's just crazy, man. Like, it's just so easy at this point. It's like, why have a logical argument? We can just fucking hit you with some...
But it's all smear campaign, which it's like, what do you think that gives more validity to? And it's like, man, so many people are so much more centrist than...
Well, I mean, really, it's just, there's so many... People are just so complacent nowadays. People don't give a shit. Like, I mean, and that's just really what it is. It's like, yeah, we all know they're lying, so we're just not going to say anything about it. Just let them keep lying.
Right.
And then the people that actually... And then there are enough people out there, too. Like, what's funny, man, is I never really got behind the whole, like, we're overpopulated thing, but the more I start looking at it, I'm like, no, we are. There's, like, we stepped in Mother Nature's way too much of getting rid of natural selection, and now there's just a bunch of dumbasses walking around. Like, we took all the rubber, we put all the rubber corners on everything, and now the fucking idiots are just running amok.
Right.
That's what it is. I mean, because really, think about it. If you didn't have so many, like, easily swayed, stupid people, the news wouldn't do what they do, right? Because people would be like, I'm not watching anymore. That's bullshit. And they just...
Well, that kind of has already happened. They just have the corporate fucking machine behind them still, So once again,
Yeah, but it's not hidden anymore. It's not like that's hidden.
Right.
And so there's enough people out there that just aren't either A, aren't aware, or B, don't care.
Well, here's the other thing, and this is something that I'm proud to be a front leader on for this show is how often we point out fucking people. A phrase we coin way too often is people doubling down on their bullshit. So this is another case of that. People doubling down on their bullshit, saying we have the corporate machine behind us, which really what they are is just delusional. I mean, just to put it simply, they're just delusional in the fact that, like, oh, well, yes, well, CNN has a website and we put out articles on the internet, like that's the CNN or any major media corporation. Their whole division of that is like, we put out articles on the internet now.
We participate as well. We're hip.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? They're like those guys.
We're hip. Yeah. We're hip. We're with it.
Yeah. We understand. We understand the youth today.
Who lets dogs out, guys? Right?
Exactly. Am I right? Am I right?
Am I right?
That's exactly what it is, though. Oh man, it's fucking terrible.
Oh man,
I just don't understand why it is that people. I mean, because that's it. Like, it really does just have to be that there's just enough people that just don't. They don't care enough to make it stop, so they're just not going to. Like,
right.
Yeah, but look at all the, like.
And here's the other
things. I don't want to stop. Just let the stupid news people be stupid news people.
I'm telling you, other than a voting public, that is probably the only thing that the majority of the leaders of the majority of the watchers of mainstream media do is vote. That's the best that they could do for, quote, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, etc. That's the best that they can do is go out and vote for whatever it is that's coming across the television screen and give them ratings numbers. But most of those people that are watching that shit, trust me, they're far beyond giving a fuck. They're not fucking, they're people that are the age of our parents and grandparents. They're not people that are like actively out there. That, the majority of those people are, quote, retirees.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What are you really going to do? You fucking own your home. You've worked your time. You got your pension, your retirement, your Social Security. You're pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
You're not, quote, in it for the change at that point. When we talk about the majority of the viewers of these types of programs.
No.
So, like, what the fuck are you going to do? Like, but that's what their appeal to is. It's like, it's ratings. It's not actively, promoting change amongst, people that are willing to actually try to make the change.
Yeah.
At all.
I'd say that's pretty much a guarantee, I'd say.
It's bonk.
That shit is bonk.
Shit is bonk. Some bonk ass shit. Ask about me, kid. But that's, I don't know, man. That's the arena they're headed towards. That's where they want to go. But it's a fucking. I hate to sound so cliche when I say this, but like it really is just a continually like sinking ship with what's out there, and most people are paying attention to these lower level outlets that have much more validity, and in much cases. Look at our fucking big ups to our fucking homeboy Ford Fisher. Fucking he's got his own personal beliefs, and I know what his own personal beliefs are. But when he fucking promotes his shit and does it upright and talks about his stuff, it's like, here's what it is. This is a good conversation to have. It's not one way or the other. It's here's the news.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
This is what happened. Yeah.
Right. So you get a lot less of that nowadays. However, people are searching out more outlets like news to share. People are searching out more stuff like, even if it's like conservative leaning or even liberal leaning, independent media is fucking, regardless of what kind of conservative liberal aisle you're on, more so than not, or exactly centrist. People are more searching that out just because it is more honest. which gives validity to shows like this. Yes, we would be more on the conservative leaning aspect of anarchism or libertarianism. However, like everything that we present to you guys is honest in how we feel. It's and a lot more centrist than what mainstream media outlets are going to give you. That's
well,
for
yeah. And I mean, here's the thing. I mean, most people are that way in reality.
Right.
Society draws them up to be one or the other, and they just kind of go with it.
Right. Man, hallelujah.
It is just insane, man. I mean, it really is. It blows my fucking mind at this point. I've just I'm completely fucking I don't know. I got nothing to say as far as
I know it seems, we're kind of mustering for words, and it seems like a big reiteration of what this entire show really is, and it is, and it has to be done from time to time, but for us it's like, this is not a new hat, this is a very old hat
fucking thing.
And it sucks that we have to reiterate that as often as
you have a unique story and dreams. You deserve a plan that works just.
Sorry, people.
I thought there was like a bit, and you were going into something real naturey and sweet.
No, every last one of those ads that pop up are loud as fuck too, man.
Yeah.
My goddamn eardrums out. But YouTube bans firearms demo videos entering the gun control debate. So,
okay.
I think that from what I've read on this so far, and I'm not going to go into the article too much, sadly, because of what we've got going on with that right now, but it seems like they're going to cut down on like the allowance of that. But I watched, like, for instance, I looked up some of the guns that I have, like some of the demo videos of the guns that I have that I haven't before.
Yeah.
I was let me see what's going on here, but I think it's going to be more so of like, if you want to upload any new shit.
I gotcha.
So it's all of these social media outlets, they're going crazy right now, but they also are going like, let's not make this too blatant. What we're going to do is just sort of fade this shit out, right? So it's like, we're not going to allow any news. Like, this person might have a very good gun review YouTube channel, right? That has like tens of thousands of views, let's just say. But what we're not going to allow them to do is upload any new videos and go like, this violates our terms and policies, yada, yada. So by doing that, they're going to sort of fucking downgrade stuff and probably eventually wipe people's YouTube channels clean. But it's still available if you want to go see some of this stuff now. So it's a soft kill. It's a soft kill.
Yeah. Which is just beautiful. Right? I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we all kind of expected that though too, right? Like, it may not be. I think that's kind of the thing. Like, none of this is going as, it's all going according to plan. In other words, like, I mean, it goes down in different ways than we suspected, but.
I guess that's the mentality that I've always carried with me too. Whether we're talking about bands or popularity amongst stuff, like even songs that were popular, like I never listened to them till like long after they were already popular, because I didn't listen to fucking top 40 radio. But I was like, oh, this is actually a pretty decent song. That song's like 6 months old, like in high school or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't really care that much about that, other than, of course, they're silencing fucking people that are not threatening individual. They're not doing anything other than doing something that's readily available to people with much harsher opinions, obviously, on platforms like YouTube. you know, or whatever. You can say kill Whitey all goddamn. I just fucking look up a kill Whitey video on YouTube, and you can fucking show people advocating for the killing of an entire race. Yet, you know, gun demos and whatnot are, you know, that's off the.
We can't do that.
All right, so. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's not gonna sway me one way or the other, of course, but you know, sadly enough, I'd like to be a lot more lazy about certain stuff than I am now. However, this is sort of like a revamping for people raising children, where it's like, they hear. You know, my stepson comes home, hey, did you hear about this? And I'm like, oh, man, you're starting to hear about, you know, the stuff that I'm, you know, actively talking about on this radio show. You know what I mean? Outside of our home, you know. So with that given in mind, going like, you kind of have to go, that's kind of a full of shit thing, or this is how it really is. And, you know, but I'm thankful to be into that debative form.
Yeah, no, I mean it's nice to be able to tell them what the real deal is, so they're not having to learn it later in life, you know.
Sure. So, and you know, there's things like in the news when we were growing up that we heard about, like, you know, I brought up the Waco thing a couple weeks ago. You know, my mom was just like, there are a bunch of crazy people in Texas that they had to kill, you know, or whatever. Like, and that was kind of like my mom's throw off tagline of like what she had heard about it from CNN, probably, no doubt. You know what I mean? So, it's kind of like you know, this is what they say, but here's the way things really are. But at least we're having those sorts of debates in my house for my kids that are still in elementary school. You know, it's like, you know, they say this, but this part's kind of full of shit, and this isn't really the way it went down or whatever, you know. So I don't know. I guess the point is, you know, like I said earlier, I wish I didn't have to be as proactive about some of this stuff, just so, like my stepson especially, he really wants to drop knowledge on you like all the time. Like, did you know that, you know, and it's like, settle down there, Slim. You know,
not true, bud. Yeah.
Right. I'm glad you're interested, but not true. You know, like, I don't know who you heard that from, but they're full of shit.
You need to be just as excited about giving the right information.
Sure.
That's kind of the thing.
Right. So at least that opens up the dialogue, I guess, is
exactly.
The positive point of that is that, yes, it happens to open up the dialogue for discussions like that between my kids, but they always want to drop some shit on you like you don't fucking know nothing, you know what I mean? But no, it's just, you know, it is what it is, and hopefully, like I said, I wish I didn't have to be as active. I wish that they were more intuitive into like how I was, I guess it would be the correct thing to say for me on this point. Not that I don't want to be more active in my kids' lives when it comes to these matters and what they're learning or whatever, but I wish that they would seek out the truth the way that I used to, you know, the way
I was kind of feeling like that as well, like with especially with my stepkids, the 14-year-old, because she's obviously a lot more into that kind of shit.
Well, obviously a lot smarter than you are too, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's one of those things, like I was feeling the same way about it on, like, you know, I kind of wish, like, you know, she seems a lot like me as far as, you know, the things she likes knowing and things like that or whatever.
Sure.
But but she doesn't seem to be going, like, she's not going after it like I was, like, you know, go read and learn it on your own so that you can make sure you're right.
Well, the other part about that is that, like, you know, like we mentioned earlier, afraid to be an outcast by a dispositioned view, which is what we are as adults now. We hold a middle ground that fucking the majority of the country just doesn't. You know, you're either extreme left, right, or extreme right at this point, and we're still stuck in the middle with you. But You know, it's like don't be afraid to fucking be right, but stand alone.
Yeah,
and
I think really what it is too is like you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know what they're doing when you're not with them. As far as like, I mean, what they're thinking about, or how they've looked into things. You know
these
what I mean?
kids are much more terrified to be alone in their thought process, even though it might be 100% right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Whereas alone for me was a place that I went, like I searched for that. You know?
Fuck you guys are retarded then. You know what I mean? Like, sorry. Yeah. Oh, really? That's what you think? All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
whatever.
you guys are stupid. Yeah.
You're fucking retarded.
Glad I'm not an idiot like these guys. Yeah.
Hey, man. I love you and everything, but you're fucking half retarded, dude. You know, like. So I think that position of being a loner stands out way more than when it did when we were kids. And it stood out enough when we were kids too. Like that was no easy, that was no picnic, you know, that was no easy go, being an outsider when it came to like your thought process. It took me, you know, a good bit into my 20s to realize like, no, fuck those people. Like they didn't know any fucking better, you know, like they might be dumb. They might just be mimicking or parroting, you know, what they've heard and listening in on their parents' conversations and acted smart like they knew some shit, but they didn't do any critical thinking about it, you know, which I think is kind of like our, you know, our battle cry, our arena of what we got going on in this culture, in this community, is going like, no, this is our battle cry, and we don't give a fuck if we stand alone, because we know it to be truth in our hearts and beyond. But
no, I mean, it's kind of been my thing is that I just don't. I mean, I don't care anymore. That's a big deal, and I keep saying that, but it's just, I mean, it's a huge deal, and I think that
it's like we care, but we don't care. But I really don't care what anybody else has to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, really, I'd say the easiest way to look at it is kind of like Carlin said. Like Carlin said in his last little interview, where he's like, I've just kind of separated myself from it. Like it's one of those, like, I don't not care in some kind of uncaring way. It's not that like, I mean, like, oh well, I don't give a fuck what happens to those people.
I also think a lot of people think that like people like us come from, and probably the Carlin-esque scenario active as well in this scenario, but for us to be like like very, very arrogant or whatever, and it's like, no, I'm humble in a lot of different other areas in my life, but this is one thing where I'm like, hey, you're wrong, get over it. You know, like you could say whatever you want to, but until you make it make more sense than what I'm already thinking, I'm not arrogant enough to just totally dismiss your view. I'll hear anybody out, you know.
I'm arrogant enough to assume that you probably haven't thought this all the way through,
right,
until you prove me otherwise.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of my thing.
You really have to present a valid argument against what I'm already thinking, and my thinking is already eons beyond wherever you're at. You know?
And that's just an assumption. I've been proven wrong on that, but I mean, here's the deal: 9 times out of 10, when I get into a conversation with somebody, and especially if I get into an argument with somebody, I'm usually like 2 steps ahead of them, and that's because like, listen, dude, I wouldn't get into this argument with you if I wasn't. Like, and that's what people don't understand too. Is
I'm waiting for your prescripted fucking answers so I can tell you why you're fucking already wrong. And I already know you're headed. You know,
that's the thing is like, you know, and my stepdaughter was asking me like, how come you're always right when you get into it? And I was like, well, because you know all those times when I said, I don't know anything about that, so I'm not going to argue with you, but this is what I think. All those times that I said that, that's because I didn't know. So if I'm arguing with you, I already know.
But not only that, they give such validity to the character of people like you and I too, where you're like, I don't know, you know, like I'm not sure, but here's what I think about it, you know.
Here's my opinion on what I know, on with the information I do know. Here's what I think.
If you want to go,
I'm wrong, it's because I haven't fucking looked into all this, so I don't know.
go toe to toe on what I really know, fucking, you're gonna be sadly wishing that you hadn't. You know, like
Yeah.
for the most part, you know,
Yeah.
you
Sit down for a couple hours. I'll tell you
very
something.
rare occasion where somebody drops some shit on me to where I really have to ponder it and really have to go like, maybe there is really something to that, you know. But yeah. All right, well, we're rolling up for the night, people. We're rolling out with some Arrested Development, so you got whatever it is, 20, 30 seconds before we got to roll out on that.
All right.
Hometown Atlanta band, you'll remember the song, but we'll catch you sometime soon.
Yeah, it won't be over the weekend, but definitely Wednesday.
We'll figure it out. I need a rest.
For show.
Need a vacay. I need to go on holiday.
Good old holiday.
All right. Taking a holiday on Sunday. See you back next Wednesday at the very latest. Much love from me and Zach, Post Politics. Check out the YouTube channel. Pay attention to our sponsors and all of our affiliates. Much love. See you soon, love.
Deuce.